All right, let's kick things off with a pretty wild idea. Imagine a world where AI doesn't just use software, it starts to write it. And I'm not talking about some simple little app. I'm talking about the very brain it thinks with. This, my friends, is the story of VibeTensor.
Seriously, what if an AI could build the very software it runs on? Not just any software, but the really deep, complex stuff, the code that makes machine learning even possible in the first place. You know, its digital brain, its nervous system. Could an intelligence, really, build its own foundation from scratch?
Well, a team of researchers over at NVIDIA decided to find out. They basically gave this massive, almost impossible task to a team of AI agents. And the result? Something they call VibeTensor. And believe me, it's a game changer.
Okay, so what exactly did these AI agents cook up? Let's dive in and break down what VibeTensor actually is. So if you're in the AI space, you've definitely heard of PyTorch, right? It's pretty much the industry standard. Well, think of VibeTensor as something very similar. It's a deep learning software stack with all the core components you'd expect. But, and this is the big but, its code was almost entirely written by AI agents. Yeah, you heard that right. And we're not talking about some toy project here. I mean, just look at the scope of this thing. This diagram shows the whole stack. It goes from the high-level Python code that you or I would write, all the way down to the nitty-gritty, low-level CUDA kernels that talk directly to the GPU. The AI agents built the entire thing. So this brings up the obvious question, right? How in the world do you get a bunch of AI agents to build something this complicated without it turning into a total disaster?
The process they used was actually pretty elegant. It's this simple but really powerful loop. First, a human gives the AI a high-level goal. Second, the AI generates the code to try and meet that goal. Third, and this is the most important part, it runs a ton of tests. If the code passes, great, it gets committed. If not, back to step 2. It just does this over and over and over again.
Now, it's not like they just let these AI coders run wild. They put some really clever guardrails in place. For one, the unit tests were more than just bug checks. They were basically the blueprint for what the code needed to do. The agents were also constantly checking their results against PyTorch, just to make sure the math was right. And get this, they even had AI agents doing code reviews for other AI agents to catch any blind spots. Pretty cool, huh?
And the sheer scale of what they accomplished is just wow. We're talking about 63,543 lines of code. And not just any code. This is the core C++ and CUDA stuff, the real heart of the system, all of it written by AI.
Okay, so the AIs wrote a boatload of code. And yeah, it passes all the tests. But that's not the real question, is it? I mean, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Does this thing actually work?
So, the big question is, can it actually train a neural network? Can all those different AI-generated pieces come together and do the one thing a deep learning framework is supposed to do?
And the answer is a big, resounding yes. Just look at these graphs. This is the proof. On the left, we've got a mini GPT model learning to write like Shakespeare. On the right, a vision transformer learning to recognize images. In both cases, you can see VibeTensor's learning curve, that's the orange and green lines, tracking almost perfectly with the human-coded PyTorch baseline in blue. It works. It's actually learning.
So there you have it. It works. The AI-generated system can successfully train complex models. This is a huge proof of concept. But, and you knew there was a but, right? Getting the right answer isn't the whole story. There's a little twist.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because in building this thing, the researchers stumbled upon a brand new kind of problem. A problem they nicknamed the Frankenstein effect.
So here's the catch. While VibeTensor gets the correct answer, it's slow. Like really slow. Just look at this table. Compared to PyTorch, it's anywhere from 3 to almost 6 times slower. So yeah, it gets to the finish line, but it takes its sweet time getting there. The question is, why?
The research paper itself explains it perfectly. It says that locally correct subsystems can interact to produce globally suboptimal performance. What does that mean in plain English? Basically, the AI agents were great at building individual parts. Each little piece was correct on its own. But when they stitched all those perfect little pieces together, the whole thing just wasn't very efficient.
And this diagram right here, this shows us the heart of the problem, the monster's flaw. See, the AI, in its quest to be super correct and never make a mistake, created something called a global serialization gate. Think of it like a single toll booth on a massive 8-lane highway.
It was a safe choice, sure, but it created a huge bottleneck. Everything had to line up and go through one at a time, leaving all the super-fast GPU cores just sitting there, twiddling their thumbs, starved for work.
So here's the big lesson, right? Each part was built correctly, but they just didn't fit together perfectly for maximum speed. The AI was a fantastic bricklayer, but it wasn't a master architect. It lacked that high-level vision to see how all the pieces would interact. It built a Frankenstein's monster, powerful parts but all stitched together in a way that just couldn't perform at its peak.
All right, so let's zoom out. What does this all mean for the future of code? Because VibeTensor isn't just some cool one-off experiment. It's actually a pretty profound lesson.
So, what are the big takeaways here? Well, first, we've learned that AI agents can build incredibly complex end-to-end software. That's huge. Second, and this is so important, we've learned that being correct is not the same thing as being performant. And finally, we're seeing that this new way of developing software is going to create brand new challenges like this whole Frankenstein effect that we're going to have to figure out.
Now, just to be super clear, VibeTensor isn't a product. You're not going to download it to replace PyTorch. That was never the point. Think of it more as a milestone. It's a glimpse into a potential future, a future where humans are the architects, the ones with the grand vision, and swarms of AI agents are the ones in the trenches, actually building the thing.
And that leaves us with one last big, fascinating question to chew on. As AIs get better and better at building their own systems, what's the new role for us, for human developers? And it seems like it's shifting, right? Maybe it's less about writing every single line of code and more about being that master architect, the one with the vision to stop the AI from creating another Frankenstein's monster. I mean, when the machine can build its own brain, who's left to provide the soul?